The concrete poured in your foundation is not the same concrete that built the Hoover Dam or any structure still standing after 50 years. It was mixed faster, poured cheaper, and cured in a fraction of the time, because your builder gets paid when the house sells, not when it stands. Residential foundations are specified at 3,000 PSWAM, the code minimum for light-framed wood structures. That number assumes the mix arrived correctly proportioned and was placed without alteration. Between the batch plant and the foundation wall, that assumption fails routinely, and nobody is watching when it does. This is the concrete scam. A residential foundation is specified at 3,000 psi. This is the code minimum. The assumption is that the mix leaving the batch plant will arrive at the job site unaltered, but on thousands of sites that assumption fails before the first wheelbarrow tips. Retempering, adding water on site to increase slump, is a routine act. It is so common that the American Concrete Institute has banned it outright in a CI 318 section 7.2.2. The code is clear: no extra water, no unapproved admixtures, no deviation from the original water-cement ratio. In practice, a foreman will add 30% more water to a batch to keep the pour moving. The result is a water-cement ratio that jumps from 0.45 to 0.58. The impact is invisible to the naked eye, but devastating in the lab. A 3,000 psi design now yields a core strength of 2,200 to 2,400 psi, up to a 25% loss in compressive strength. Field data from California, Texas, and Ohio confirm this range, with core logs and mix tickets showing additional water added on site and corresponding strength deficits. The mix ticket is the only documentary evidence left behind, but few homeowners ever see it. A lab technician receives the core sample, logs the chain of custody, and records the readout: 2,280 psi, not 3,000. This is not harmless settling or a fluke. It is the predictable result of a diluted mix, a shortcut taken to meet a schedule, and a breach of code that is rarely enforced. The foundation beneath your feet may already be failing its first test, years before the cracks appear. That is the concrete scam. Stay guarded. A foundation is only as strong as the curing window it is given. In builder grade, pour schedules, the clock starts ticking as soon as the slab is finished, 7 days. The industry relies on the assumption that concrete, rated at 3,000 pounds per square inch for its 28-day strength, will deliver between 65% and 75% of that value at the 1-week mark. Under standard conditions, 20 to 30 degrees Celsius and continuous moisture, the lab curve supports this. A 7-day compressive strength lands between 1,950 and 2,250 pounds per square inch. But the field is not a laboratory. In cold weather, when temperatures fall below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, hydration slows. The penalty is severe. 7-day strength can drop by 10 to 15%, and the 28-day target may be missed entirely. Builders rarely wait. Framing crews are scheduled before the concrete has reached even 2/3 of its intended strength. The result is a structure loaded while its matrix is still porous, its bonds half-formed. Compression test machines in state labs confirm the numbers. A core sample from an early March pour in Ohio, logged at 7 days, reads 1,680 pounds per square inch, barely half the design value. The microfractures seeded in that first week are invisible to the naked eye, but they become the origin point for cracks that will spider out under service loads, freeze-thaw cycles, and soil movement. The difference is not academic. An engineered mix design, given a full hydration cure, resists these flaws. A builder-grade pour loaded at 7 days is a latent failure. The decision to load early is not made by the future homeowner. It is made to meet a schedule, to close a sale, to move on to the next lot. That is the concrete scam. Stay guarded. A foundation wall designed to resist soil pressure is only as strong as its reinforcement layout. The International Residential Code permits vertical rebar spacing of up to 48 inches for 8-inch concrete walls, a code minimum intended for cost efficiency, not structural reliability. In contrast, engineered specifications for high-pressure zones call for rebar at 12 to 16 inches on center, providing redundancy and limiting the unsupported width of concrete between bars. When a builder-grade pour, already compromised by excess water or a shortened hydration cure, relies on 48-inch spacing, the result is predictable: bowing walls, map pattern cracks, and measurable deflection under ordinary soil loads. Forensic inspection logs from homes built after 2000 document lateral displacement of up to 1.5 inches within the first decade, with core samples revealing compressive strengths as low as 2,200 pounds per square inch, far below the design value. The repair invoice is not theoretical. Carbon fiber strapping, the most common retrofit, costs between $10,000 and $30,000 for a standard basement. An excerpt from a 2023 homeowner invoice in Cleveland reads, "Install 24 carbon fiber straps, epoxy bonded, $17,800. This intervention does not restore lost concrete strength. It simply arrests further movement. The economic logic is clear. The upfront cost to specify 12-inch rebar spacing is a few $100s per wall. The cost to repair a bowing wall after the fact is an order of magnitude higher. The decision is made by someone who will never see the invoice. That is the concrete scam. Stay guarded. A builder grade. Pour is not just defined by its mix or its rebar. Beneath the slab lies a barrier, often the thinnest line of defense between your home and the water rising from the earth below. The International Residential Code allows a 6 mil polyethylene vapor barrier, a sheet thinner than a trash bag, installed to check the box for code compliance. However, building science and field data show that a 6 mil barrier degrades within 10 to 15 years. Punctures and pinholes form under hydrostatic pressure, especially in regions with high groundwater, allowing moisture to migrate upward through the slab. Efflorescence, the white crust of dissolved salts, appears on basement walls and floors within a decade. The thicker 10 mil or 20 mil polyethylene, by contrast, resists puncture, limits water vapor transmission by 60%, and maintains integrity for 30 years or more. The cost to upgrade from code minimum to an engineered barrier averages $800 per foundation, a sum routinely omitted to protect the builder's margin. Dampproofing, a thin tar spray, is substituted for true waterproofing, but it cannot hold back hydrostatic pressure. The result is a moisture environment that accelerates alkali-silica reaction, feeds freeze-thaw cycles, and seeds the cracks that will widen year after year. The decision to save $800 at construction transfers a $10,000 to $100,000 liability to the homeowner when the barrier fails. That is the concrete scam. Stay guarded. Alkali-silica reaction, called ASR, is the latent failure mechanism that turns a foundation from a structural element into a chemical time bomb. In the laboratory, the process is unmistakable. When alkali ions from the cement paste come into contact with reactive silica in the aggregate, a gel forms at the microscopic interface. This alkali-silica gel absorbs moisture, swells, and exerts internal pressure until the concrete matrix fractures. The reaction is irreversible. Once the gel expands, map pattern cracks radiate across the slab and wall surfaces, often within 5 to 10 years of placement. Builder-grade pour, with its elevated water-to-cement ratio, 0.58 instead of the specified 0.45, creates the ideal environment for ASR. The surplus water increases pore connectivity, accelerates gel hydration, and allows expansion rates to climb by 50% compared to a properly proportioned mix. Moisture intrusion enabled by a thin vapor barrier or failed damp-proofing feeds the reaction year-round. The only proven mitigation is the inclusion of supplementary cementitious materials, a minimum of 20% fly ash or 30% slag, as documented in ACI 224R. These bind the excess alkalis, chemically limiting the fuel for ASR. In builder-grade construction, the omission of those materials is standard. The outcome is not a slow decline, but a structural compromise that cannot be reversed. Once ASR map cracking appears, no surface treatment or injection can restore lost integrity. The foundation is chemically doomed. The decision to dilute the mix, skip supplementary cementitious materials, and rely on code minimums is made by someone who will never see the gel under a microscope or pay for the replacement. That is the concrete scam. Stay guarded. A foundation compromised by alkali-silica reaction is not repaired, it is replaced. The invoice arrives years after move-in, long after the builder's warranty has expired, and it does not ask for negotiation. Full foundation replacement for a standard 2,200 square foot home falls between $50,000 and $100,000. The process is absolute. It starts with demolition of the original slab, excavation to undisturbed soil, and installation of an engineered mix design with a low alkali cement, 30% slag or fly ash, rebar at 12-inch spacing, a 20 mil vapor barrier, and a continuous waterproofing membrane. One replacement contract from a Midwest suburb itemized the costs. Demolition and removal of the existing foundation, $16,500. Engineered slab with supplementary cementitious materials, $31,000. Rebar and waterproofing upgrade, $8,700. Total, $78,500. The homeowner pays the price for a chain of decisions made years earlier, including water added to the mix, a 7-day cure, code minimum rebar, a 6 mil vapor barrier, and omission of supplementary cementitious materials. Insurance policies increasingly exclude alkali-silica reaction as a pre-existing condition. There is no partial fix. This is the economic climax of the builder-grade pour, a 6-figure liability transferred by design to the homeowner. These are not accidents. They are the engineered outcome of minimum code construction. That is the concrete scam. Stay guarded. Today, a 3,000 pounds per square inch foundation poured with a water-to-cement ratio of 0.6 with 5/8 inch rebar at 36-inch spacing and a 6 mil vapor barrier is standard, yet it cracks in 5 years. The accelerated cure is chosen by those who never return. That is the concrete scam. Stay guarded.